Us on this broadcast, BJP spokesperson joining us tonight from Shillong. Sudhanshu, this is not looking good for Eknath Khadse at all. You were on our broadcast defending Eknath Khadse. That was on the issue of the calls with Dawood Ibrahim. Now, MIDC, the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation, coming out and saying that Eknath Khadse bought government land which he couldn't have bought from some private individual, changed the land deed records, got the seal deed registered in the name of his wife and in the name of his son-in-law. What does the BJP make of this, Sudhanshu Mittal?
Frankly, Rahul, I am not acquainted with the facts. I have just come here and heard this. Now, I'm sure if there is an irregularity which is committed, nobody is going to spare him for that. But the appropriate thing would be to take an explanation from him as to what the allegations are and let there be a response. And based on the response, conclusion should be drawn.
An explanation has been sought from the minister. His explanation is that this is land that belonged to a private individual. The MIDC has put out a notice. An official from the MIDC has come on our camera saying that this is government land. I want to play that comment out since you've just joined us. You understand a bit of Marathi. Listen now to the circle officer in Pune telling my colleague Pankaj Khelkar that this is government land which the minister could not even have bought, and yet he's had it transferred to his family member's name. Listen to this lady, Kulkarni. Just give us a moment. We're pulling that out for you. This comment from Pune, very significant comment, because this is the first comment from the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation where they're saying on record that this is government land that the minister could not have bought. That comment is ready. Sudhanshu, listen carefully.
He जे ट्रान्झॅक्शन उकानीने केलं त्याच्याबद्दल काय म्हणणार एमआयडीसी प्रॉपर तुम्हाला प्रॉपर वाटते का?
नाही वाटत, कारण महामंडळाची जमीन आहे, ताबे आहेत, भूखंडाचं वाटप केलेलं आहे, त्यामुळे ते कसे असे विकू शकतात? प्रॉपर्टी महामंडळाची आहे. नुकसान भरपाई त्यांनी घेतली नाही, ठीक आहे, पण अशा वेळी आम्ही पंचनाम्याने सुद्धा ताबे घेऊ शकतो जरी नुकसान भरपाई, कारण महामंडळाला म्हणजे सरकारी कुठल्याही योजनेसाठी जर ती सरकारला हवी असेल जमीन तर ती पंचनाम्याने आपण घेऊ शकतो.
You just heard that. The circle officer in Pune saying this was land meant for the government, but now it's being used by a private person. She says, when she was asked specifically, was this a proper transaction? She says, no, the transaction was not proper. The MIDC is now on record questioning this purchase by the state's revenue minister, Sudhanshu Mittal.
Rahul, let me just tell you one thing, that I am more acquainted with what happens in government land here in Delhi. DDA has all the land. The land belongs to them, yet there is complete trading which goes on in all the lands allotted by DDA or DSIDC for that matter, or any industrial development corporation for that matter. So, make a statement by somebody without really looking at the other side of the story may not be right.
No, it's not just...
Let me tell you,
I
hold no brief. I hold no brief. I hold no brief. If there is something which is wrong, which has been committed, I am sure it will be taken.
No, but this is what we hear. This is what we hear, and that there's no action. Because remember, Narendra Modi and the BJP promised a higher standard of governance, more accountability, transparency, honesty and integrity. The question is, when those values are being challenged, where is the honesty and integrity that was promised to the voters of India?
Give the BJP time enough to react to an allegation. You have just broken the story. It is fair. You've done a good work. You've broken a story. Give BJP time and give Maharashtra government, give CM Maharashtra time to look into it and react accordingly. I am sure, knowing the intent of both the Maharashtra CM as well as the Prime Minister here and the BJP, nobody is going to defend somebody where the conduct is indefensible.
Okay. So I want to go across to Sahil Joshi, because Sahil, you've been speaking to the Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis now, and I want to put this in context for our viewers because people in Maharashtra will understand this. But Khadse and Fadnavis have a long history of acrimony, bitterness. Khadse was one of the front runners to be Chief Minister, much younger, more inexperienced. Fadnavis became Chief Minister. And the Khadse camp, Sahil, somehow believes that this is being done by Fadnavis to try and topple him so that he no longer stays minister. But in the midst of all of this, all these very serious charges are not being looked at seriously because they think it's internal politics. It's not. It's a case of land grab and it needs to be addressed as such. Why is the Chief Minister of Maharashtra not living up to the high standards of probity that he promised us? When you and I interviewed him together before he became Chief Minister, he said, Sharad Pawar is corrupt, the NCP is corrupt, the Congress is corrupt. I will show how an honest government is run. Tonight, he's failing to live up to his promise. Sahil.
No, this is really surprising because when the Dawood call matter came up, he was quick enough to ask for an inquiry, and he asked the police commissioner to go for an inquiry, and quoting that because Eknath Khadse himself has asked for the inquiry, he has asked the police commissioner to do a proper investigation. But in the land grab case, he is not going ahead with the investigation till today, till now. At this point of time, there is no official investigation has been ordered by the Maharashtra government. Now, there is one more angle to this story. The industry department belongs to Shiv Sena, and Shiv Sena BJP's relations are not going well at this point of time. Now, we have confirmed from the industry minister's office that the industry minister has confirmed that the land belongs to MIDC. So, if he will be asked tomorrow that whether this particular transaction is correct, or the purchase agreement which has happened between Eknath Khadse's wife, son-in-law and the actual owner, is it correct? The industry department is going to say no to that. So industry minister has confirmed us kind of that this particular agreement or the transaction which has happened is not legal transaction. Whereas despite that, the Chief Minister hasn't ordered any kind of inquiry at this point of time. Neither the government is taking any role. We tried to speak to the MIDC secretary as well. No one has ordered any investigation, but
I know that Devendra Fadnavis, I've understood from his office,
the local department of MIDC has kept all the papers ready.
Okay. I know for a fact, just 1 second, Sudhanshu, because I know for a fact that Devendra Fadnavis has been following our coverage very closely. He's been looking at what India Today has been reporting both on the Dawood call records and now on the MIDC charge. Mr. Fadnavis, you are young, you held out promise which was backed by the people of Maharashtra. You also told them you would run a clean government and an honest administration. Tonight, one of your colleagues is challenging that promise that you made by doing something which is wholly, totally immoral, illegal, which the MIDC itself says is improper. This is when you must stand up and be counted for. This is when you must live up to the promise that you made, because if you fail to do so, you fail to live up to the promise you held out to the people of Maharashtra. Sudhanshu wants to make a quick comment before I come to other big story, because the central government has ordered a probe now into Eknath Khadse's alleged telephone conversations with that telephone number in Karachi, which belongs to Dawood Ibrahim's wife. Sudhanshu, quick final comments on this story.
Rahul, like I told you yesterday, that it will be investigated, and you yourself reporting that the central government has ordered an inquiry into this. Similarly, let me assure you that whatever your expose is, it will be looked into, inquired into, and if there is wrongdoing, appropriate action would be taken. But do not conclude a wrongdoing. Let me tell you one thing, even if the land belongs to MIDC, there is a process of licensing it. And if there is a licensee and if it's a transferable license, you cannot make it immoral. So let us look at the facts
one second, Sudhanshu. I will follow this story by and by. I am not concluding anything. Unlike other channels which run kangaroo courts, we stick to facts. We put out the facts in the public domain and we let the facts do the talking. We don't sit in judgment. We don't think of ourselves as judges. But when the government refuses to act, we prod them, we push them, we make them act. Remember, the fact is, if this were an honest, bona fide commercial transaction, and you understand the Maharashtra real estate market well, land worth 40 crores would not be sold for 3.75 crores. That makes absolutely no sense. The seller will try and sell it for 50 crores, 60 crores. He will not sell it for 3.75. That is very fundamental. I want to move on now to the other big story tonight. We've learned from our sources in the Ministry of Home